It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so you know what that means. It's time for another episode of Hashtag Event Icons, presented by Endless Events, the show where you get to ask the icons of the events industry anything. Use the question panel on the webinar to submit your questions. Or you can hop on Twitter. Submit your questions with hashtag Event Icons. We'll be answering your questions live during the entire show. Before we get started, the more people we have watching, the better conversation we can have. So please help share hashtag Event Icons on Twitter and Facebook. Just tell your friends to watch at www.event-icons.com. Now, without any further delay, this is hashtag Event Icons.
Hey everybody, it's Will Curran back from another episode of Event Icons. I am joined by some amazing people today. Why don't you guys jump in and share who we got joining us in the crew today?
I'm going to start because I'm at the top of the pile today. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to take it for now. Probably because I was here first. I'm not sure. I'm Tahira. I am a Vancouver-based Canadian event planner. Very happy to be a new occasional host with you this year.
Awesome. And since we're going to do ladies first, Audrey, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Audrey Gallien, and I'm coming from New York today. And I do professional planning, particularly around the diversity and inclusion space. So happy to be here and chat today with everyone.
And last but not least.
Hey, guys. Long-time listener, first time. No, I'm kidding. This is Alex Plaxen, president of Little Bird Told Media, based out of D.C., and your social media guru of the bunch. So we've got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, as Alex said, we have a ton to talk about. As everyone knows, the resource section is my favorite part of every episode. So we decided to turn it into an entire episode where we share our favorite things of the year because there's a lot to share for sure. And as you notice, we're joined by all of our hosts. We are missing Brant. He is out in the cyber webs searching along. But I'm sure we're going to get to hear some of his resources eventually. But for this year, we won't get to hear him. But we are joined by all the rest of our hosts, which is exciting, and I don't want to waste too much time, and I want to jump right in because there's so much to talk about. So let's jump right on in. So the first thing I wanted to share is kind of reflecting back. We did obviously an episode on the 2 years of doing Event Icons. We talked about our favorite episodes and everything like that. We're not going to talk about that, but I do want to share what our favorite resources were shared in episodes. And this one was tough because there's 52 episodes to go back on. So why don't we jump right on in to hear what was your favorite resources shared in the last year of episodes?
Well, I didn't have just one, but I decided to just choose all of episode 92, which was the Event Tech Trends with Jim Spellos and Corbin Ball and Nick Borelli, because they just kept just giving us resources. And I think it's also the reality is we are in this whole new digital age, so we've got to pay attention to it.
Absolutely. I think there was a ton of resources dropped. Yeah, was that last?
Like a ton. It was like about this long of a list. So yeah.
It was outrageous. Those are my favorite episodes when there's just an absolutely huge, long resource list. What about you, Alex? What would be some of your favorite resources shared in the last couple episodes? I know that you live tweeted so many of them, so it is so hard to choose.
So many. And to be honest, I feel bad because when it comes to the resource section, because I'm live tweeting all the time, I'm like constantly just looking for the right Twitter handles to like tag like the correct resources. So sometimes I miss resources and I have to go back and watch. But a lot of the podcasting is something I kind of started doing this year, listening to the podcast instead of just being a part of a podcast. Since I am commuting now, which I used to only work from home. But yeah, so a lot of these podcasts that people listen to, one of my favorites is the Nice Guys on Business podcast. It's just a whole different range of people. Doug Sandler is one of the hosts. He's active here in DC, and so it's really interesting. He's had Gary Vaynerchuk on and all these really interesting people, and it's about how basically you can get ahead in business by not being ruthless, but by actually being nice.
Who would think?
Any Canadian.
But it's a lot about building relationships in business and things like that, which is something that I personally love to do, especially from the social media perspective. It's all about building relationships. So
that's awesome. And I got to give some props to Alex. Alex, you are really good at building relationships online. I felt like I knew you really well before we even met in person. And I felt like we were best friends, like when we finally met in person. So props to you. So obviously that podcast taught you a lot.
I was a guest on that podcast.
Ooh, good. See, there you go. Speaking from example. Well, we'll jump into podcasts again. And since Alex already got his out, we'll do our favorite podcast of the year right after this one. But Audrey, I know you were kind of like a new addition in late the end of the year this year, so you didn't get a chance to kind of see every single episode. But do you happen to have any favorite resources from the past episodes? If not, that's totally okay as well. But did you happen to have any?
Yeah, so I'll say I'll make it kind of meta. So a resource within a resource.
Oh, going Inception.
Listening to hashtag event icons, definitely check out one of our most latest episodes, 91, which is 2 years of hashtag event icons. And for me, just listening to that episode and being there and hearing all of the suggestions of the top 100 out of the 100 episodes that are about to be logged down, that's a really great way to get some information about where to get started. This podcast obviously covers so much. And so I took a ton of notes and now I have a listening list for the future. So if you're curious, you should check out that episode.
Awesome. I love it. All right. So Alex, you beat me to the punch. I wanted to do favorite podcasts because there's so many. We obviously listen to a lot of podcasts. There's a lot of things we have in here. Let's go into everyone's. Well, oh, you know what? I totally forgot to do my own. See, you guys got to make sure I remember to tell mine. So my favorite resource from the last couple episodes, I had to write it down because it is absolutely a long name. It's Loco Metric Room Scan. And God forbid, I forgot what episode it's from, but it's a really cool app where you can basically look around a room and measure a room and basically using your smartphone. So I usually carry around a laser measure with me so I can measure rooms and heights of ceilings, but this allows you to basically do it on your phone, which is really, really cool. So Loco Metric Room Scan. Really cool. All right. So before we go into that, let's go into podcasts. Alex kicked it off with Nice Guys Doing Business. Alex, did you have any other podcasts that you wanted to share that were some of your favorites from this last year?
Yeah, I don't think it's one that was necessarily mentioned on the show. Although we did talk, was Funko this year?
Yeah.
This past year?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was this year. Yeah.
Okay. So they have a podcast, and what's really great about them is they have a very unique way of building up a fan base. And I think it's something that events don't do as well as they could. And they have a weekly podcast called the Funcast that if you go and you listen, there's a lot of lessons that you can learn by the way that they interact, and they do giveaways and different things, but they have a rabid fan base. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from podcasts outside of our industry as well.
They've really amped up their marketing like over the last year. I think like even since we did that podcast, they've doubled down on videos and unboxings, and like they really do understand like how their fans work. And what's interesting if you look at it too is like how they put the face to the name of the brand, and they have a couple people in their team who basically do all of it, and they kind of become like the ambassadors for the brand, which is really, really cool to watch. And I think, like Alex said, great podcast to definitely learn about how to build a podcast just about a brand alone and a product essentially. So I love it. What about you, Tahira? What would be your favorite podcast of the year?
Oh, you know what? For a long time, and I still like it, is Kiki L'Italienne, best name ever, and Association Chat. You know, she's like, much as you've done, it's been on many platforms. It's been video for a long time. I just find, even though I don't really primarily plan association meetings, excellent resources all of the time, really good thinking around it. And for those who are planning association meetings, just an excellent resource.
Ooh. And what do they usually cover on the podcast?
They cover a whole range of things, everything from, managing associations to programming to taking care of our participants and ourselves, a lot of live shows, from ASAE, places like that. So really current information, it's evolved a lot, but really focused on growing association memberships and really the needs that are specific to associations and their planners, which I think is it's a great niche.
They have a great Twitter chat as well that goes along with. their podcast.
Yes.
If people want to find that, where's the best place for them to look?
Hashtag AssenChat.
Which is the best hashtag ever.
Ask the chat.
I love it. I love it.
It is.
Awesome.
You know, some things you can't say without smiling.
This is true. This is true. Audrey, what about you? What are your favorite podcasts of the year?
So I'll be the curveball today and not have an event-related podcast. It's called More Perfect. It's by Radiolab. And the podcast, it's a short series, and it's focused on covering Supreme Court cases throughout U.S. history and how it has influenced the way that we govern today, and why certain laws are passed and why you can't get certain cases through the courts is because of decisions that have been made very early on by the Supreme Court. For folks who are interested in just learning about the Supreme Court history, it's fascinating. Why it even exists, why it has so much power. It's actually hilarious and sad that it has so much power based off of its history. And you don't have to be a political geek to enjoy it. That's what I love about it. It's very easy to listen to. I think it gives you a broader insight as to the way that our country works. So I really appreciate it.
Have you ever gotten something from it that you applied to events? I think it's okay to say no, too.
I could pull a broad parallel. Well, I would say that no, I can't. Nope. I would just be something else.
It's sort of like, the math. It's like the organizational behavior at its earliest form.
Yeah. I mean, I think that flexibility is so important for a successful event and switching the game plan and the rules. And our country can't do that very easily. So I don't know.
Deep.
That's the best I got. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm going to be with you. And I actually chose two podcasts that are completely unrelated, but I think that people can learn from and that people will be excited in. First is definitely my choice, and was like I somehow found this podcast, but one of my favorite people is Neil Patel. He's a great marketer, and Eric Sue, who's also a great marketer, and they created this podcast called Marketing School. Fantastic podcast, and the fact that they do it every single day, and each episode is only like 5 minutes, but it teaches you a new lesson in marketing about the new tools, some way you can implement. It's insanely tactical, but sometimes it can be strategic, but it's every five minutes, super fast. And if you're really into marketing or trying to learn a lot about marketing, I highly recommend it because they get you real quick. There's no BS. Let's go. And those marketers, they're very, very smart, and they've come up with a lot of great ideas that I've implemented as well. So that's Marketing School with Eric Sue and Neil Patel. And then another one, which I had to put in here for Brant, because I knew he would mention this as well. And we've mentioned it a couple times, and, I've actually now gone back and started watching this. I think I watched maybe a couple episodes in the beginning and then kind of fell away from it. And now I'm coming back to it, but This Week in Tech, or TWIT. And theirs is a video podcast, and they do theirs every week. And so when Brant has been talking a lot about it, and it's been a huge, I think, inspiration for us as well, because we're at the point where we've been doing this for 2 years. We're trying to make this really solidified. How can we make this as awesome as TWIT? Obviously, they have a much broader audience than us, but maybe we can eventually get there, we hope. And so This Week in Tech was just a really big inspiration. I started listening to it again, and I listened to last week's episode, and they just had such amazing conversations that I then brought up in further conversations at like dinner tables and things like that. And I think if you're into tech or you want to stay current with tech, it's amazing to listen to, and they have some really deep conversations. Just fantastic. I loved it. So yeah, This Week in Tech. All right. Let's go into books. So let's start with Audrey. Why don't you share your favorite book of the year, or books of the year?
I have two books that I'd like to share. Both are dorky and nerdy, so I'm sorry in advance. If you're looking for a graphic novel series to get into, I suggest Saga. It is awesome, and it's kind of influenced by Star Wars. Intergalactic warfare is happening. Two unlikely species fall in love. It's awesome. It's really, really good. And most of you know by now that I have a Star Wars book club, so I'm going to Or maybe not. I don't know.
Sweet.
But my favorite so far of the year is called Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. It's actually a YA novel. If you're into Star Wars, it's really cool because you see the other side of someone who's been recruited by the Empire, and you really empathize with that view, which most people don't get the opportunity to do. And also it's just a juicy YA novel. And it's canon, so it's all part of the core Star Wars storyline, and it's great. And I will not speak ever again about these things, but
liar.
I love them, and I'll talk about it more.
Amazing. I just realized I totally forgot to talk to you about Star Wars this last week or 2 weeks ago. So we will have to talk about that offline at some point.
Cool.
Alex, what about you? I know you're a big book reader. What's your favorite book of the year?
I'm so not. I don't read books very often. But I did have to pick up one, Intentional Event Design by Tahira, because I love event design, and I don't think we should do anything just for the sake of doing it. I think everything should be intentional. So I love that. And of course, it helps that Tahira is
now sitting right here.
She'll pay you later. Don't worry about it, Alex.
But everyone should pick up this book.
Everyone should.
Available on Amazon.
No, I'll agree with that. Definitely. I mean, fantastic book. I mean, I think it's just dives into some really great topics. A really easy read too. Like it doesn't feel like thick and heavy in any sort of way, and you can cruise right through it. I to be honest, before we even got to Tahira as a co-host, I went and picked up that book, and I was just so happy that I did. So thank you to Tahira for writing that book and sinking
She'll
so much time
sign
into
your
it.
book too if you ask her.
Absolutely. Thanks, Will and Alan.
I didn't get a signed copy. What the heck?
Next time that we are in the same physical location.
Soon enough.
Absolutely.
Some random country.
Preferably.
Tahira, you want to go next?
Sure. I have a couple. One was given to me by my friend Jeff, who's going to be on the show in the spring. Leadership and Self-Deception. And it's a very deep dive into the things that organizations tell themselves that actually try to believe them, and how we can get past some of the barriers that we impose on ourselves. So it's a very interesting, thought-provoking read. And it's not by a person, it's by the Arbinger Institute. So it's been around for a while, but it's still got some great messaging in it. And then I do have to do a shout out for one that is for the event parents. Now, nobody else is a parent here, or let's go with not yet.
Not yet either.
Yes, and puppies do count. But
well, then
there
I'm a cat
is.
dad, then.
Yes, perfect. They won't need this book though. But my daughter actually wrote a book that is called Straight Up Teen Talk. Beautifully illustrated by this amazing kid, Tavion Johnson. They wrote it when they were 15 years old. It's very straight up. So it's what I'm finding is that people who are buying it, whether they're buying it for nieces or nephews or their own teenagers, sort of 13, 14 is the perfect target age. It's sex, it's drugs, it's going to parties, it's not sitting at the grade 12 table in the cafeteria. It's really just opening up conversations about really what's happening out there in the real world. How do you manage social media? Very short snippets. It's very like everything is one sentence advice. Of course, they've broken their own advice lots of times. You're always going to, you can't live up to 200 pieces of advice. But what you can do is really just go, oh, yeah, that actually makes sense. It's, table manners. Be kind to your parents because, they're going to be kind to you. So it's good. I really like it. So, yeah, those are my two.
Some writers in your family.
Apparently. So yeah, they asked if I would help write a book after I gave them some very great advice as you give your teenagers. And I told them it would suck and they should do it themselves. So they did. So it's good.
Cool. All right. Well, my book, I have an advice book as well. For those who don't know, I'm a huge Tim Ferriss fan, obviously. And he just came out with a new book, Tribe of Mentors. It reminded me a lot of Tools of Titan, which he released, I think, last year or 2 years ago, which is like a compilation book of all the feedback he's gotten throughout the podcast and talking to people. And basically it's like a greatest hits kind of book. And it's like basically the advice of tons of most amazing people you'll ever think of. So it's a really good coffee table book because you can just set it down, come back to it later. I think he even says that at the beginning of the book. Same with Tools of Titan. I guess they kind of go hand in hand, and they're gigantic books. Be prepared, because I ordered them in hardback because I was like, I want to support them, and I got this book, and it is the size of like an encyclopedia. So great book though. I think that there's a lot of times like just getting lots of different feedback can give you a lot of inspiration. So definitely highly recommend that book, and also Tools of Titans as well by Tim Ferriss. All right, you guys, I'm asking all the questions. Do any of you guys want to go next into leading the convo?
I'll ask the next question. The next question is new tech gadget. Mine was very easy. I really have I need new tech gadgets. So I really want you guys to answer this because I need some new cool stuff to play with.
You were talking about before the show. You were talking about something cool though. I'm seeing it in the show notes for what you want to talk about, because I think you should bring that up. That's something that you thought was cool.
Oh one of the things we have in our office is we have a VR set because we're the Innovation Council, so we need to do things that are fun. But Google Tilt Brush, which is super fun. I'm terribly incompetent at it, but I keep playing with it because it's fun to draw things that are all around you. So as soon as I can translate that into my next stage set, then I'll feel like I've actually gained competency in it. But I'm working on it. So
do you know if you guys have the HTC Vive or the Oculus Rift?
Vive.
Cool.
Yeah.
Didn't you guys like it?
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah.
That's on my want list.
All of our co-op kids play games, so it's good. It's like a fun tool.
I love it.
What's yours, Will?
So mine, it's a love-hate relationship. But my Surface Pro has been awesome. I got it in October, and I'm completely not using Mac except for today because my Surface Pro crashed on me twice during Zoom calls. So I'm on a Mac right now just to be safe rather than sorry.
So it's a great resource.
But no. I think to be honest, it's probably on my end. It's probably some piece of software that I've installed. I'm going to refresh it again. Everyone else says they don't have issues with it. I'm pretty sure it's just because I've done something to it that it doesn't want to be done. But the thing I love about it is being able to pull up the stylus and like draw notes and write on notes and draw things. And it just feels completely freeing from typing, especially when I was doing my brainstorming for the year for 2018 yesterday. Was really, really cool to have. And to be honest, the form factor of being able to have my tablet and have spreadsheets, quotes, plans, schedules, all that stuff during shows was just fantastic. Have that in my arm and walk around the show floor. That was incredible. Whereas before I'd stick my laptop on, the front of house and I'd come back to it, or I'd carry it around this big bulky thing. This is a little tablet, and it's amazing. So I've been enjoying that. So that's obviously, if you don't want to switch to Windows, I did want to give something that I think would be applicable to everybody, which is the Zolo Liberty Pluses. I think I might have mentioned them an episode or two ago, but they're truly wireless headphones. Unfortunately, I'm not wearing them right now, but basically no wire between them, but they're super cheap. They're $100. They're made by the same company as Anker. So if you have an Anker battery or cables, they make good quality, inexpensive stuff. And I'm loving them. They work fantastic. The battery life is great. And I think it's changed the way I listen to music because now I have a lot more freedom of my neck too. So it feels a lot more freeing. And I don't feel like I have headphones on, which is really, really cool. So Zolo Liberty Pluses.
So
I feel like I can get those. That's good. I feel like I have a new gadget. Thank you. Sorry, Alex. Back to you, man.
I have a question, Will. Have you had an opportunity to use the iPad Pro with the Apple Pen?
No, I haven't. To be honest, I've had iPad Pros for like shows, like when we've had to do installs and things like that. And it's gigantically cool. However, I haven't done the Apple Pencil. The decision, though, to go beyond Apple was not just in laptops, but it was kind of as a yeah, I think everyone knows why I made that decision, but I just had this, like, for everyone who doesn't care, obviously, I just had this decision that, like, I think that the way their company's gone is gone beyond why I invested so much money into their products in the future. And so I kind of want to make that switch and support a company that I think is doing innovative things with the Surface Pro. That's just my feelings. I'm butthurt. Don't worry about it.
I was just curious. I've seen it. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, so I was curious if
Brant lives and dies by it though. Like Brant at all of our shows, and every time I see him, he loves the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil. He says if it had OS X, like the main operating system, he would he'd pay twice as much for it. But it obviously they're not going that route. So yeah. Anyways, don't worry about me, guys.
Who's next for Tech Gadget?
That's Audrey.
Okay, well, I have to be honest. I really don't have anything for this. I'm happy to take suggestions. I experienced some cool Oculus Rift this year. That was really exciting. It was, I think the VR world's getting pretty fun. And I've demoed a lot of games. But other than that, to be honest, I don't have anything that is innovative and interesting to share.
Can I pose a question to you, Audrey?
You can, yes.
Let's say, hypothetically, I gave you $10,000 so you could buy like the maximum spec computer, and you had everything you needed. You just had to buy like the Oculus Rift for $300 or the HTC Vive for $600. Would you do it? Or let's say you were even giving it to free. Would you use it all the time?
I would probably use it twice a week. Just because of how intense it is. I can only play for like 30 minutes at a time. But yeah, definitely I would get it. Absolutely. Cool. My goal this year is to build my own computer.
I want to help you with that. I just did that really last week.
Put the funds away, and both of my brothers who are actually here are big computer geeks, so they're going to help me on this journey. Really.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. That's something you guys will never hear me say, by the way.
I'm going to help you build your own computer here. It was so much fun, and I can't believe how powerful a computer I can make for such. Yeah. That's another reason why I switched from Apple. I was like, you can build like the best top of the line PC for like $3,000, whereas like that costs like $20,000 with Apple. Alex is just going to punch me in the face.
I'm not saying anything. I don't need to build anything. Apple does it for me.
Just buy it built already.
That's why computer companies exist, so I don't have to do that.
I love it.
My two brothers do not use Apple at all. They're the same way. They like want to customize everything. I don't care.
Well, speaking of you, do you want to do your tech app gadget?
Yes.
Tech gadget.
Yes. So it's one that a lot of people have, but I don't think they're using to the fullest extent that they could, which is the Amazon Echo or the Google Home or whatever you have. I think people are like, what's the weather, Alexa? Or play this song, Alexa. But there's so many apps out there, and there's so many companies that are doing really cool things. Like I'm a huge Washington Capitals fan. And they were the first professional sports team to have their own app on the Amazon Echo. So now that I downloaded that, I can ask Amazon Echo anything Caps related, like tell me the score of the game right now. And it'll feed me stats during the game and all sorts of stuff, which is really cool. But also I just saw a few weeks ago an event that had signs up at their event, and they had echoes stationed throughout the convention center where you could go up and ask questions about the conference. So cool. Like, what time does this session start? And, tell me more about the speaker, blah, blah, blah. So there was an app that was created for the Echo for the conference, which I thought was really cool. So it was like kind of a concierge just located throughout the entire convention center.
Awesome.
Do you think you want to ask it questions just because you can? Do you feel like you're speaking out loud more instead of typing in your phone? I'm just kind of curious about the psychology behind it.
I like it only because it's super easy. Like I can just ask it whatever I want. There's also things that like you have to go to a website or something to do. Like I'll play a board game and I'll have people over and we'll be playing a board game and trying to figure out like who's going to go first. And we'll like count off 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we'll say, hey, Alexa, pick a random number between 1 and 4, and she'll do it. And
that's cool. That's really smart.
Like, yeah. There's just cool things like that then I don't have to go looking for like numberrandomizer.com. Like
that's true.
Yeah. I use mine a ton, but it's because my house is all smart homed out. So like I use it to control my lights, my music, my like temperature, like everything in my house. Like I've had a couple times where I've really wanted to open doors for me, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. That was sarcasm.
You'll have locks soon and alarms.
Oh, I do. No, I do have locks on, but it doesn't like. I want an actual like physical door opener.
Physically open your door,
like to close the door.
I think that's a mechanism you need to install on your door first.
Yeah, true.
Like it's
also where things are going. Like when they say, are we still going to have, 10 years ago we didn't have smartphones. In 10 years will we still have smartphones? And we won't have really smartphones because almost everything by then is just really going to be voice activated. We'll just, it might be it certainly won't be a phone, but I think how we, if we think about how we're communicating now, it's going to change so exponentially in the next decade. And it's going to come down a lot to voice activation and biometrics, just that how we can, it's like the fish tank in the Dubai airport where, as you walk in between a giant aquarium, those aren't fish, they're robots who are scanning your faces. So they know exactly who's going through that airport. So you don't even need a passport. They know who you are.
Wait, there's robot fish in the Dubai airport?
Yeah.
Awesome.
But it's true. It's true. There's little things like when I'm at home, I don't want to, if I talk to my mom a few times a week and we'll have like hour-long conversations. I don't want to hold my phone up. So I'll have her on speakerphone. Now that we both have an Echo, like I can just be like, hey, Alexa, call mom, and she'll call. And then I'm just talking out loud as if she were in the room, which is just easier than holding my phone and being like, hello, on speaker.
Zolo Liberty Pluses.
It's little things, but it just makes life a little bit easier.
So I'm sending my kids off to university with like an Echo.
Yes.
Perfect.
To be honest, like one step up, I think, of what the Echo is doing, and I think they now just implemented this too, is that the Home does it where if you have an Android phone, you just say call, it goes into your contacts, finds the phone number, and calls through your phone number, so they don't even have to have an Echo, and that's pretty cool. So it looks like, it even says it's coming straight from you. There's like, why do you sound like you're in a big room? And you're like, well, because I'm calling you speakerphone, basically.
Well, and that's the other thing is there's now devices coming out that aren't Echoes that have Alexa as part of it.
Like the Sonos One, for example.
Yeah. So, I mean.
And what was the bestseller on Amazon? This was the Echo Dot was the bestseller on Amazon this Christmas.
Right.
And this stuff is cheap. I mean, the Echo, I think, is $80 right now on Amazon. Really? And the Dot's $30. Like, it's not even $100 for this device that I use almost every single day.
True.
Well, let's stick to tech and move out of, well, although I guess we did talk a little bit about it, but your favorite app. So it could be for your phone, for your desktop, but specifically an app that supports you. Will, let's ask you first.
So I'll kind of transition. So you mentioned the Sonos, how it has Alexa built into it. I recently, when I heard that announcement, I'm all smart homed out. I got really excited because the A word, the Echoes, were taking forever to get multi-room audio done. I've always wanted a Sonos system, so I finally made the leap and went full Sonos in my apartment and did a Sonos One in the bathroom, Sonos One in the kitchen, and then Sonoses and the stereo systems I have in my bedroom and living room. And Sonos has been life-changing, and it's really weird because I'd hear people say that all the time. I've used it in other people's apartments and been like, this is cool, but I don't need this. But the way it works and the way it does Pocket Casts and it does Audible, well, it doesn't do Audible yet, but it's going to do Audible soon. It does Spotify, focus at will, so I can do my like focus sounds. Really, really cool. Really works really, really well. And if you're looking into having a smart speaker, the Echoes are really cheap, but if you're looking for good quality of audio, the Sonos One is incredible how much audio, and this is coming from an audio guy, how well it sounds. It sounds like there's a subwoofer in that room with me, so I totally recommend the Sonos system for anyone.
More importantly, what is a focus sound?
Oh, so Focus at Will. It's another app, I guess you'd say. It's where you can basically it's a paid prescription, but it's there's like Coffidity and all these other sounds that make it sound like you're in a coffee shop. Focus at Will is a subscription service that allows you to basically have different music that based on focus levels. So you can take a survey, say like, am I ADD? Am I how do I work? How do I think? And it'll come up tell you which sound is perfect for you. So mine is Bachman pianos basically at medium speed or high speed, I think, because I think so fast. But highly recommend Focus at Will if you're looking for something that doesn't have words or anything like that that just gets you thinking. Focus at Will is pretty awesome. So thank you for making me realized that was really weird for me to explain.
No, that's
cool.
really interesting.
Then the other one's older, but I recently started getting back into it, is Foursquare. So I've been using Swarm since like the inception of when it was just called Foursquare, where you check in everywhere you go. And for a long time, I'd been using Yelp to decide where I wanted to go and eat and everything like that. However, I realized that there's a big discrepancy between 4.5 stars sometimes and like 3.5 stars. Or 3 or 4 stars in a restaurant. So when I started using Foursquare, mainly because I was traveling in Europe and no one uses Yelp in Europe. So Foursquare is really prominent over there. But then I started using when I came back to the States, and I'm just loving the app a lot more, and finding places to eat, how people give recommendations, how it helps you quickly find what's good there. The pictures are really quickly to access, and it all ties into my Swarm check-ins. So a lot of times, for example, when I came back to Vancouver and was like, where's that place that I went that one time to get sushi that was amazing? I didn't have to like try to remember. I just said, show me all my check-ins, and boom, on a map, it showed all my check-ins, and I could quickly find it really quickly. So loved it, but obviously it requires you to get the full potential to be checking in on Swarm. But if you're anything like Adrian, me, and pretty much everyone I know, we all use it.
That's awesome.
So those are my 3 for you guys.
Cool. Tahira, what about you?
Oh my goodness. So I think I've gone back to the basics on apps. I think I got totally apped out. So, and now it is really just, it's everyday life. So it's the, 7 different ways I can communicate with people. Mm-hmm. It is the wonder list for those random little, I call them brain farts, that I have about ideas for, sort of a whole category of things in my life. Banking, just really simple things. So really now more it's about using apps to manage my life versus apps for the sake of having apps. So
I like it.
Back to the basics. I'm into it. Alex, what about you? What do you got?
So I don't know if any of you have used Skype or FaceTime.
What is that?
But I find that the quality is not great. Am I stuck?
No, you're good. You're good. You're perfect. You look good.
Oh, okay. I just got a note. It was like, internet unstable.
Oh, I thought you were
that's because you badmouth those
Quality
two
is not
things.
I thought it was intentional. I was like, very funny joke.
He says it and then he froze, and now he's back.
No, am I back? What's going on?
Okay, we can hear you. Okay, go for it.
We got you.
You can. Okay. So Skype and FaceTime, the quality is just not great. So I've been using Google's new video calling app, Duo, and the quality is amazing.
Really?
Duo. Yes, and your face is just a little circle in the corner, so it doesn't take up half your screen. And I use it with my sister all the time. It alerts you like you're getting a phone call. It's super easy. It shows you a preview of the person's video when they're calling.
Do you make faces at people like I do?
Like if you're doing other things. Of course. And when I call my sister and she's not picking up, I'll like make rude like reaction faces. But Duo is a great video calling app. And I also use Glide, which I've been using for a long time, but they recently kind of did a new thing where you can only go back a couple weeks, I think, to watch
really?
videos. Yeah, they used to house every single video that was ever sent. And I guess that was taking too much, so they stopped doing that. But it's a video texting what Glide app.
It's kind of weird to explain.
Yeah, so it's essentially a video texting app. You can send texts or you can send videos. You get a notification that someone is recording live. You can either watch it live, although, a few second delay, or you can just watch it later and then send a video back. So that's why I say it's kind of like video texting, because you're not on camera at the same time. You're just sending back and forth videos. But my sister is on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast. So she'll send videos of like my niece and nephew playing and things like that. And so it's sometimes difficult to get on the same time schedule. So that's really nice to be able to send a video that she can then show my niece and nephew and be like, oh, look, it's Uncle Alex, like sending you a video. And then vice versa. So if we're not in a place where we can get on a call at the same time, we can still send videos back and forth without it taking up room on our phones or having to like text an actual video. So it's really cool.
Yeah. What's the advantage of using that as opposed to Instagram or Snapchat?
I got this one. I was about to say why it was going to be way better than everything else. So I've been using it for a long time, and I don't know why we don't talk on Glide at all, Alex, because it's amazing.
I didn't know you were on Glide.
So I found about Glide through my sad single life that it was recommended as a great way to get to know someone before with online dating and everything. And what's great is, like Alex said, you can send it live and you can watch it as recorded. But the best part is once you hit send, you can't edit it. You can't put overlays on it. So it's raw. So like you're just talking into your phone. And because it's so fast, because it's set, basically you hit record, it's starting to send to them as it's going. You find the conversations are so fast back and forth. And I just find that it's, you know, unlike where Snapchat, where you're putting filters and all this text and you really have the chance to hit back and say like, oh, I look ugly in that one, I'll change it. You know, this really gives you the chance to be like, this is how I am. I find that a lot of people who are used to like the Snapchat filtered age, they're so uncomfortable on it. But I find that I just get to know people really, really like well. I'm not sure if you found the same way too, Alex.
So I've been using it pretty much since its inception because my sister's like childhood friend was actually their CTO. So,
oh, no way.
Yeah. So him and two buddies in Israel, they were all Americans who immigrated to Israel, had families, and were like, we want to send videos to our parents and our families back home. But like the time difference is always weird. So it's hard to Skype and set up that stuff. So they were sending videos back and forth. So like I'll wake up in the morning and my sister will be up early with the baby and she'll have sent me a video, which is really cool. Like I'll be sleeping, but she'll have sent me a video that I can watch later. It's really big in the deaf community because they can use sign language.
Because they're 10-minute long videos too. That's a big difference too. Is they're not? You don't have.
That's nice. Yeah.
So they can be long videos. You can also now save them to your phone, which is nice.
Hi, Tahira.
But you can save the videos to your phone, which is cool. But also, you can send just text, or you can just send a photo or something on it as well. But you can also have groups. So my sister has a family group. So she sends it to my mom, me, my dad, my aunt, my grandfather, my brothers. So she'll just send any video of the kids to everyone.
Are you glad you asked?
Yes. For me, it's just another thing to convince people to go on to and use. So
it's
that's
really
why I was
hard to
wondering.
No one's heard of Glide too. That's the difference.
Yeah. So I was just curious. Well, I'll just share really quickly mine. Similar to Tahira, just kind of back to basics, but it is an app. I use Evernote, which is, you know, a very simple and smart note-taking system. For my work, I talk to, 5 clients a day, maybe 6, and they're all leads and they're need to be tracked. And it's a really easy way to write notes safely. I've lost a tremendous amount of notes that I thought I could save on my computer and bad things happened. And so knowing that it's saved online, I can open up my phone and say, oh, what did so-and-so say? It can be really simple, or you could use it really smart. So I love it.
Yes. Nice. It is one of mine as well.
Yay.
I love it. I was going to recommend, I switched from Evernote to OneNote when I went PC, but I've been frustrated with it and how it's laid out compared to Evernote. I'm thinking about going back, so I might have to come join Camp Evernote over there.
You can do both. You don't need to get rid of Evernote to use OneNote. It's okay.
Too many databases.
I know. It's true. All right. So what else have we got? What's next? Favorite blogs.
Favorite blogs.
Besides event icons.
Besides.
I'll go first.
Go for it, Alex.
Big surprise, Social Media Examiner. Um, they just are on top of every change to social media, and it's really hard to stay up to date with all the changes on social media and the algorithms and how to market and why your engagement has fallen on one platform and risen on another. And they're just on top of it. If you're looking for a quick, like, what the hell is happening in social media, just go check out Social Media Examiner and read like the blogs for the last 2 weeks and just the headlines and see what's going on. So that's my favorite.
What about you, Audrey?
Dramatic unmute. I don't follow blogs so much. However, I'm addicted to The Economist. That's where I get all my news. And there's lots of different ways to listen to The Economist as a short podcast, or read the entire magazine, or use an app to get tidbits. And the way that, if you're interested in getting global news, and what's really cool about The Economist is in the beginning of every magazine, they'll do short, basically summaries of the big articles. So if you don't have a lot of time to read, you get the week in politics, the week in little blurbs, tiny little sentences of the week in politics and just world news. And then also the big articles that are bite-sized, which I think is really cool how they do that. So some weeks I can, just get the tidbits. Other weeks I'm diving in. I think that The Economist has kind of a reputation of being, I don't know, not a young person magazine or coverage, but it's awesome. And they're super liberal and edgy when they need to be. So cool. I would definitely check it out.
That's awesome. What about you, Will?
Well, you remind me of one of my favorites, which is The Skim. However, I apparently am late to that ball game, so I'm not going to explain what it is because you guys can all Google it. But I love the summary portion, and I'm going to check out The Economist because of that, because we don't have a lot of time to read. I read a ridiculous amount of blogs, but I tried to pick the ones that I found this year, or that I found especially helpful, that I realized just were amping up their game this year. First, I recommended 5, I realized back in November, is Thrifter. So I used to be a big fan of Kinja Deals, which lists all the deals and things going on. Obviously, though, they focus a lot on Amazon because they get commission based on what they saw on Amazon. So I realized it was just what was on sale on Amazon. And I found out like my favorite tea maker, for example, went on sale this year, which was really exciting. However, Thrifter does multiple places there's deals, but also I think that around Black Friday, they do analysis to say like, okay, so here's all the deals in Best Buy, but the $29 Amazon Echo Dot, you can get that pretty much any other store. So it's not really a special deal, but the deal on this is absolutely special. It's about 20% lower than it's ever been. They do a lot of analysis, which is cool. And for someone who buys a lot of tech stuff, it's really helpful for me. The other one that I think they're just absolutely having a fantastic year in coverage, and I feel like I watch every YouTube video, every article they post, is The Verge. And they basically cover technology and apps and, like the new VR's thing coming out and this and that. And I feel like when they do their reviews and stuff, they do it where they go really in depth, but they cover the things that are important. And they also, a lot of times, do it very visually beautifully as well. It makes you really fixed. And while, CNET, for example, does really good content as well, it's not as fun to watch as watching these like dramatic, I don't know. If you've ever seen a Verge video, you'll know what I'm talking about. So those are my 2 favorite blogs of the year. I know they're not very educational, but they're still fun.
We need to be inspired in lots of different ways. It's all good.
It's true. Tahira, what about you?
Oh, yeah. So I used to have a favorite blog. So I really, from a destination and mice, meetings, incentive, convention, and exhibition perspective, I really like Parakino. So Patrick Gilligan out of Ireland has a great blog. He was an English teacher before he worked in the industry. So traveled around the world. He started Ovation with Patrick Delaney. So tons of great information, but also just a lovely writing style, which I really appreciate. It's sort of like reading the Shakespeare of the mice world. But other than that, I'm not reading as many blogs as I used to, because I'm finding a lot of the content that I'm reading is now coming on LinkedIn. And a lot of the stuff is really related to the job that I'm doing. So a lot of things on AI and AR and VR and blockchain and Bitcoin and, kind of where technology is going next. And there's just such a plethora of content on it that it's, I'm starting to follow some people that tend to put up good content on a daily basis on those things. So this guy, Nigel Wilson, he works for Microsoft out of the UK, is my new favorite follow on LinkedIn. Every day is something fascinating. So yeah, really just a bunch of different things going on.
So I think we should jump kind of in a different direction from the resources we've been talking about to your new favorite event company. Ooh. And I know Tahira is also my favorite, so I'm just gonna let her say it.
Go. So this question, I was like, is this event company or event tech company? But so from event tech, I put Sciencio, which is chatbots. And then I was saying, if it was event company, it would be a much longer list, but I'll just stick to that for now. Well,
this one was really difficult for me because I actually was doing a lot of reflection and realized I don't adopt a lot of the new event companies or event technology companies into our company, which is where I kind of based my thought process on. But one that I thought made me really excited for that I think a lot of my clients can utilize, which is Snowball. And I know we had talked I just learned about them like 3 weeks ago. But I did a demo with them and we're going to have them on the episode talking about event influencers, but it's such a simple to use tool for people to set up simple landing pages. And I think we're in a day and age where sure, it's not the most powerful tool out there, which is what I want, but I realized for a lot of my clients, that's not what they need. They need something simple to use that they can build on their own. So I'm really excited for where that's going. That's my new favorite event company, but I'm really excited about everyone who's out there starting their own companies and doing their own things. And I hope that we can have you on our show eventually. So, Audrey, what about you?
Sure. So you all know my space is learning and development, going into companies and influencing behavioral change. There's a new organization out there called Mind Gym, and they use psychology and behavioral science to kind of play around with the structures of large corporations. And, I think they have a great brand. I think the work that they do is interesting. In this field specifically, you're trying to create an environment that changes the way that people think and in a sustainable way. And so I always love to see small companies come up and do a good job. So that's the one that I have.
Awesome. All right. We're coming towards the end, the last couple of questions that we had, and we definitely have to talk fast because we got to get 3 questions in and we only have 7 minutes left. So let's go with your favorite things that you use to get things done. So whether that's new or not, what are the things that you used to get done this last year? So Tahira, go for it.
I'd love to say technology, but this year my family is the thing that's helping me get things done. So there's like my super husband, Greg, who does basically all of my life admin and renovated our bathroom. My son learned how to drive or got his driver's license, so I sent him off to do all of my random errands and don't do any of those anymore. And my daughter decided that I should be as healthy as she was, so she started doing all of my meal prep. So those are all things making my life easier. It's amazing.
3 your family?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dream team.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Audrey?
Evernote, waking up on time, drawing boundaries when I need to. If work becomes too stressful, I just immediately disconnect, and it turns out everything's okay when you do. So boundaries.
Yes, good job. Alex?
I use mention.com for social media stuff. It's super cool. They have an app on your phone, which is great. But it'll notify you of tweets and Instagram posts or even just mentions of your company or hashtags you're looking for your event on the internet. So if someone posts an article that mentions you, which is super cool, you can also respond directly from the app. And they have sentiment analysis, so you know when someone's talking crap, which is really nice to just instantly respond when you know that kind of stuff happens. So that's what I use to get stuff done.
Awesome.
We actually, when you're just talking about that, sir, we have a great tool that we use here called Tradable Bits. So we typically use it around our conference, but they're like, well, you could use it all year. It's like, oh, what a good idea. And it's essentially the same thing, but you can filter out, if it's related to your hashtag and somebody uses bad language and you don't feel that's appropriate, you can filter out bad language so those don't get put. Like, it's quite interesting. Great. So yeah, Tradable Bits.
Awesome. For me, we talked about Wunderlist and Evernote. I use Todoist. I love Todoist. Really easy to use. But the one that we haven't talked about is the Best Self Journal. I feel bad because Audrey stepped it up by having books with her. My journal is all the way in the other room, and I want to go grab it and show it to you. But Best Self Journal, it's a daily journal. I did the 5-minute journal for a long time. However, I felt like it was just basically good. Made me feel good, but it didn't help me get things done. This one, you map out your whole day. You talk about the 3 things that you need to do to get done. You write down your goal every single day for that quarter. Fantastic journal, the Best Self Journal. I'm absolutely loving that thing. Been using it now for about 2 years. Right.
Such a grown up.
I'm such a grown up now. All right. Favorite article read. This one's tough because yes, it's hard to pick just one. But what would be your favorite article you read this last year, Alex?
So I have one that I read recently, which has really shaped kind of everything I've done this last quarter, which is it was an article on Mashable called Obsessively Checking Social Media During a Crisis Might Harm Your Mental Health. And it was all about post Las Vegas and the wildfires in California and all the earthquakes and hurricanes and everything. Basically it was a study that was done about how people go to social media first when there's a crisis for information, and when the authority doesn't respond or communicate properly, they end up just trying to find any information from anywhere, and they get miscommunication and incorrect information, and how that can actually negatively affect you in the long term with your mental health, which has really framed the crisis communications series of talks that I'm doing this year that I've been preparing for the last couple months. So that would be my favorite article.
I like it. While we're talking about social media and kind of disconnecting, one of my favorite articles was Buffer wrote an article called The 10 Agreements of Slack. And it made me write the 10 agreements of our Slack at our company that basically it talks about, basically, well, I'll be honest and show links. Buffer's 10 agreements Slack. It's these rules that they wrote about far as like how you should use @ mentions, when you should call someone versus Slack them, when is it okay to use Giphies, like all these things like that, we're in this day and age where a lot of people know of Slack and know how to use, but you have to have some rules around it. And we've done this at Endless now, and I feel like our Slack is really under control. We recently had to do this for our Leah chapter because our Slack was kind of getting out of control. And I think sometimes setting some rules and boundaries is really good. Definitely go check it out. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing. The other one was an article that I read actually in the end of 2016. I was at a conference me and Alex were at, was Inbound, and I saw Ross Hudgens speak, and he's the owner of Siege Media, a big marketing SEO kind of firm. And he did a presentation on how to increase website traffic by 250,000 website visits a month. And I was like, okay, it sounds like clickbait. Watched the presentation, was mind blown. He wrote an article about it. And the article basically explains the whole entire presentation. So it's, again, how to increase website traffic by 250,000 monthly visits. And I'll link to it obviously in the description, but it talks about like their strategy of writing long blog posts. How do you get links? It's basically like, if you're doing content marketing, you have to read this because this is a bona fide like tactical strategy for increasing site visits. I know for those people who are, not really into marketing or don't do a lot of content marketing and really confused, it's really technical. But it's awesome. So go check it out for sure. So, yeah. Audrey.
Wired wrote an article in October, and it was by Rebecca Botsman, October 21st. And it is all about what's happening in China and how they're building essentially a social credit system that's going to launch in 2020. And it is like a Black Mirror episode if you've watched that show, and it's real and it's happening. And it's basically just talking about how they're going to monitor and give credit based off of who you associate with, what your social status is. The government will give you better lending, will help you or isolate you from society. It's nuts. It totally blew my mind, and it's happening. So that's the one.
It'll launch at the same time as the cryptocurrency that will take over the world.
Yes, invest now.
Yeah.
Tahira, do you have any favorite articles from the year?
Not one. I mean, I have so many, so no, I did not pick one.
I have read no articles.
No, I've read zillions of articles, many life-changing. So it's yes. Let's go with what you guys got.
So I want to end on a good one. We've talked a lot about like how to get things done, learnings and things like that, but I think also relaxation is a good part of it. And so this was my favorite question that we came up with, which is how do you guys relax and pass time? And maybe there's something new that you've kind of discovered in this last year that you've kind of used to pass time or relax, like when you're not working or you're not trying to learn and better yourself or trying to get things done. What it can be completely just self-indulgent. So I'll let you guys go first. Tahira?
Okay, yeah. So I'd like to say I meditate or do yoga or run or do something like that, but no. What I do is I watch the cheesiest same plot line ever, like made by Hallmark Christmas movies or Valentine's movies or even Halloween movies.
Year round?
I try not to do it year round, definitely this time of the year. Hallmark put out 33 new movies this year. My favorite thing they did, though, is they, along with it, because anybody who's watched them knows the plot lines are the same. So what they also did was they launched the Hallmark cheesy Christmas movie drinking game. So when there's, a snowball fight or a Christmas tree lot or a character named Holly or Nick or, all of the things that happen in every movie, you take a drink. And I was like, I thought if my family really loved me, that would be my Christmas gift, but it wasn't. So when I really just want my brain to completely turn off, because you do not need to pay attention to those things. I don't actually know what happens. I just sit there and pretend to watch them because they are same. It's sad. I know. It's okay. I'm living with myself.
So I want to piggyback off that. I'm a huge movie guy. So mine for this year was Movie Pass, which I remember because I found out about it when I was with Alex in DC and was like, okay, I have to sign up for this. Everyone's getting this thing. Best decision ever. My girlfriend has it. My best friend that I go see all the movies with. For those who don't know, I see every new movie that comes out every week. So like I spend probably way more on movies than anywhere else. So this is saving me so much money. It's been fantastic. I even used it at the indie theater in Nashville that I'm at. That's on the road. Awesome. Loving Movie Pass. And now you can get them within 2 weeks. I hate all of you because I waited 2 months for mine. The other one is I collect Blu-rays since I'm such a movie nerd, and I have Blu-rays of all my favorite movies. And I recently made the big push to go 4K, which is crazy and was really expensive. Don't do it unless you're really a movie person like me. But I found about this app website called blu-ray.com or blue-ray.com, and it's a community of people who are obsessed about Blu-rays like me. You can it has a price tracker, so you can track the prices of Blu-rays when they drop. It allows you to find out how much that Blu-ray is worth, and it also has a cataloging software where you scan the barcodes and know what movies you have. And when you have so many movies like I do, when you go to a sale on Black Friday, it is really possible to buy a movie you already own and not realize it. So great app, great website. So if you have a big movie collection, you want to keep track of it, blu-ray.com is really awesome. And the Movie Pass if you go see a lot of movies in theaters. So.
My movies are free.
Netflix.
Audrey.
I'll go quick. Battlefront 2. PlayStation 4.
All right. I can dig it.
Popping. That's it.
Wait, you have a PS4? I didn't know this. I have to find out your username so we can play.
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
All right. That'll be the secret. You will find out about the offline. All you guys can guess what our usernames are. Alex, go ahead. Finish it off.
Disney Emoji Blitz, the app on your phone.
What is this?
It's like Candy Crush, but with Disney emojis. And it's so stupid.
Guilty pleasure right there.
So guilty. It's like when I just want to go numb and just not think about anything in the world, I'll just play Disney Emoji Blitz.
Amazing.
But what's great about it is when you get new emojis, you can also use them as a keyboard on your phone. What?
Incentive.
We're gonna end up on a high note on this week's episode of Icons with Emoji Blitz. I love it. Amazing. Well, we are a little bit over time, so I do want to wrap up this week's episode. Big shout out to Tahira, Audrey, and Alex for joining me on this week's episode and indulging me in my resource obsession. You guys are fantastic, and I literally learned so much from this. I'm going to copy and paste a lot of the resources, blogs, and books that you guys shared. I'm really excited. Check out, especially Emoji Blitz. And it's just a great episode. This is going to be one of our last episodes of the year, guys, too, so make sure you tune in the last 2 episodes of the year. They're gonna be or actually next week's our last episode of the year, so go check that one out.
This is the end of December. Well, yeah,
This is it.
Next week it's January.
See, normal my count. I'm on someone else's laptop. Usually has a date up at the top right. What day is it? I feel like it's December 1st. Well, last episode of the year, we have an amazing year lined up for you guys next year, so make sure you guys tune in. We had topping off with our last couple of resources. I need to stop talking, and we need to get out of here. We'll see you guys all in the new year.
Peace out.
You. Tahira, Audrey, Alex, you guys are awesome. DJ Alex, drop that beat in that video outro.
It's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so you know what that means.
That's
it's time.
definitely the out.
Stop. It says outro.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Could it be?
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I don't have the outro. Maybe
Oh,
I do.
no. There we go.
Thank you for joining us. Another amazing episode of #Event Icons. To catch the transcription and all of the resources mentioned, head to www.helloendless.com/blog. This week's episode will be posted and available by next Tuesday. Also, let us know what you thought about this week's episode. Share your biggest takeaway and join the social conversation. Sponsored by Little Bird Told Media. Just tag your post with #Event Icons. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on #Event Icons.